Hi, welcome back to Faith and Conviction, and I'm your host, Ray Harris, and we want to talk about today's Torah portion, this week's Torah portion, and it comes from the book of Exodus, which in Hebrew is Shemot, which means names. And the Torah portion comes from chapter 10, verse 1, down through chapter 13, verse 16. And the Torah portion is portion 15, and the name is Bo, which into English means go. So it's kind of easily remembered for us who speak English. Now, this word bo is actually the fifth Hebrew word in chapter 10, verse 1. And that's where we get this keyword for this portion. Now, this portion, we always go back and we check to our keywords, and we look at it through the Strongs, and we want to connect it over to the New Testament and see about Messiah as well. So this keyword is a Hebrew word that's connected by Strongs to H935. And the Brown Driver Briggs says that this definition means to go in, to come in, to enter. So there's some various ways in which you're traveling. You go somewhere, you come over to this location, you enter into a building, things of this nature. Now the eSword has this study I was doing, showed that it was over 2,500 times in the Hebrew that this word is used. And so that's quite a bit. And there's a lot of verses here in our Torah portion that have it, but we're only going to cover a few. So when we get into chapter 10, verse 1, the King James has it, go in unto Pharaoh. So I'm abbreviating it just so we can focus on our keyword. Now, I also use the Jewish Publication Society, and I use the Complete Jewish Bible so we can kind of look at these things. The Complete Jewish Bible has go to Pharaoh, and so does the Jewish Publication Society, which is this copy of the Torah. Now, if you look down in chapter 10, verse 26, it's translated a little bit different. Instead of using the word go, it's going to translate just a shade different for each translation, which gives a variation of the meaning, and it kind of flavors it a little bit. Chapter 10, verse 26, the King James has, until we come thither. I mean, it's Old English, but that's the way it's setting in the King James. The Complete Jewish Bible has, until we get there, which is a little more colloquial. We talk more like that. And the JPS has it, until we arrive there. So that's a little more formal. Pardon me. Chapter 12, verse 23, we want to look at this as well. And it has an interesting translation for this word. The King James, chapter 12, verse 23, says the destroyer to come in unto your house. The Complete Jewish has it, the slaughterer to enter your house. And the Jewish publication says the destroyer enter and smite your home. There's one last verse I want to look at for us right now, and that is chapter 12, verse 25. And that's the King James says, when you become, not become, but become, as in you're going to arrive, become to the land. And then the Complete Jewish says, when you come to the land. And the Jewish Publication Society, this one here, that's my base text that I use for our study, says, when you enter the land. All I want to do is show that from these various passages, this word bo is translated various ways to emphasize different aspects of this word. So what we do is we want to try to connect the Hebrew to the Greek so we can see it in the New Testament. So the Septuagint translators, the translators who took the Hebrew into the Greek 200 years before Jesus was born, was translating it this way. And this text reads more like this. Apen de kurios, pros, mo usein, legon, es el the, pros pharao. So it translates over into when Moses is talking and to go into Pharaoh. So we want to see what word translates the bow. And it's Ace Elthe, which connects over to the Greek word that is numbered by Strong's G1525. And that's Ace Erchomai. Now that's a combined Greek word, and again, I want you guys to go to the bottom of this page at faithandconviction.org, and you can see all the details there. This is an amazing thing about these words and how they work. And so in the King James, this eis erchomai is translated with the words enter, entered, entering, go, went, all these variations that are very similar to the meaning for bow. So I wanted to look at just 2 verses that connect us over to the Messiah, and hopefully this will be a little bit of a blessing to you. So in Matthew 15 and verse 11, Jesus is teaching, not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, that defileth a man. So again, that's King James, but it has that word go, and that comes from the eis erchomai, which translates the Hebrew bow. Now, as I show you could have it, it's not what enters into a man, it's what comes out of a man. It's not what goes into a man, it's what comes out of a man. So it's very interesting what he is saying here. Now, the other one that we want to look at is, again, the same book, Matthew 19 and verse 17. And again, this is Jesus. So this is interesting. He says, when asked a question, he says, why do you call me good? There's none good but one, God. But if you will enter into life, keep the commandments. You know, what I want to do is, we always want to see how Moses and the Messiah connect together. And part of it is through the language, but also through the teachings. And so this is a little bit of a challenge, but when you look at this, when we see this eis erchomai, and it comes from the from the Greek translation, which takes it from Hebrew. You have bow, eis erchomai, enter. That's how it works for us, so we can get down into the English. So when he says this, he says, why do you call me good? There's none good but one, God. But if you will go into life, if you want to enter into life, if you want to arrive into life, keep the commandments. Now there's a lot that goes around these teachings, but it's kind of challenging, but it's also informative. So we can see how Moses and Messiah connect together just through these words, and not deal it with these things on a big theological level. So the Hebrew helps us, the Greek helps us, and then we have the English. This is a translation of the Hebrew. And of course the New Testament is a translation of the Greek. All these things are powerful. All these things can be a blessing. All these are just seeing how these different parts connect. So we can see the power of Moses and the power of Messiah. So we can see the informative nature of the Old Testament, the informative nature of the New Testament. So we can have trust in God to have these blessings. So until next time, continue to seek God, know Messiah, find hope.